That's right, guys. We're getting bougie this week. We're getting sophisticated with some gas station wine. This is your friendly reminder that GameSpot used to have a TV channel. I'm Mike Dangerous, and this is Talking Shots.
Chief, kiss the return of the blade and slice shade, getting paid until my silhouette fades.
You know, I don't really like wine. Anyway, gaming journalism has seen many different incarnations over the years, arguably more than any other medium. We already talked about how lit gaming magazines were. With video games growing up alongside the internet, it was only fitting that we would see more online media surrounding video games. I mean, hell, the film industry found itself online with the Space Jam website, and you best believe I'm going to look for every excuse to talk about the website. The music industry found itself entangled with this newfangled internet stuff, albeit in a more controversial way.
Napster. Sharing's only fun when it's not your stuff.
The internet brought a new way of bringing media into the home, and journalism was no exception. It also ushered in ways to communicate with other like-minded individuals. All right, I need wine for this. Time for the sentences with the SAT words in them. I dropped out of school. I failed the SAT twice. It was lit. Gaming, being an interactive medium, essentially warrants an experience that is individual to everyone playing them. So, of course, forums and discussion boards started to pop up. And as Flash and video support became more prevalent online, more and more people began sharing their experiences. We're saying a lot of cuss words on the internet. Some of the earliest examples of this were speedrunners documenting their times and discoveries in the games, all set to the tune of Papa Roach and Scatman John. I don't know why. Yeah, I remember those unregistered Hypercam 2 videos. I made a lot of them when I was 13. Game discussion became pivotal to the overall experience, be it spreading rumors like Ellis Real, or Missing No, or discussing upcoming game releases. It turned out to be the best word-of-mouth strategy in almost any industry. It was only a matter of time before gaming journalism outlets followed the same strategy. GameSpot is one of the earliest notable examples. Originally two sister websites, GameSpot being focused on PC games and videogames.com being focused on consoles, would merge in 1999 to just GameSpot.com, which is the company we would recognize today. GameSpot, aside from being a journalism site, also hosted its own forums. Forums dedicated to retro gaming before it was called retro gaming, new game releases, and of course, flame wars. As you do. Because it's the early aughts, and I gotta tell Vega Master 69, capital X, lowercase x, why the Xbox is trash. In all caps. Nerd. As the early 2000s went on, we would see more and more sites pop up that not only covered new games, but made their own content, covering gaming history, theories, and even early esports coverage. GameTrailers was one of those sites. Launching in 2002, originally the site, as the name suggests, released trailers of upcoming games, but as time went on, we would see more digital, original content being produced. Screw Attack got their start on the site with their top 10s, and the Angry Video Game Nerd launched on the site as well. Gaming was no longer a product sold to you through TV ads. It now had a culture all of its own. A really problematic, sometimes racist, culture all its own. Raise your hand if you've been called the M-word by a 13-year-old boy on Xbox Live. It's the worst. Gaming was now an industry where the audience was more integral than ever. Eventually, Screw Attack became their own entity and had a community all their own. Cinemassacre, or the production house for AVGN, also found a new home on this website called YouTube. YouTube really was a game changer for a lot of reasons, and it very quickly became an exercise on how to commit the most copyright violations. I remember the YouTube poop days very vividly. That's a punk movement we gotta talk about very soon. Of course, this untainted fair use utopia would grow and change into a much more moderated affair. However, one thing that separated video games from most other mediums was its presence on the platform. Remember how I said that video games are interactive? Well, that's kind of what makes them unique. Well, yeah, you can post footage of a movie and ruin the experience, but you can't really post an experience. With the rise of independent game reviews and Let's Plays, the gaming landscape would see a major shift. We still have major media outlets when it comes to gaming journalism, but the idea that you could broadcast yourself and find a voice changed the landscape for people who consumed not only gaming news, but any sort of gaming-related content. All of a sudden, these more personable channels would see a rise in popularity, and that has everything to do with that sense of community that surrounded these channels. Content creators would interact with their audiences, and sometimes with the game makers themselves when they were playing more obscure titles. It was only a matter of time before companies would take notice. Indie games as a whole owes a lot to YouTubers covering their games. I mean, they made like 35 Nights at Freddy's games, and that game is basically just jump scare simulator. It got to the point where content creators and game makers would maintain some kind of contact, to the point where content creators would receive betas and sometimes even journalism copies of the games before release. Can you imagine you're just like a person who likes video games and like makes videos about them, and the next thing you know, you're in contact with like Bungie, Microsoft, anyone? Hit your boy up. Of course, streaming going into the 2010s would take on a very different meaning. What if you could interact with your audience while you're playing through a game? It's like one giant live gaming party. Is lit. Remember Justin TV? Yeah, me neither. Okay, that was mean. But it's important to bring up Justin TV here. Before Twitch was even a thing, Justin TV is where you would go to broadcast live video. Even the name Justin TV comes from the creator Justin Wang, who live streamed his life 24/7 on the platform. This is also where the term life casting comes from, which, to be honest, I had no clue existed before researching this video, so the more you know. In 2014, Justin TV would merge with Twitch into the platform we know it today. Twitch was always geared more towards video game content, seeing how well it did on other platforms. Twitch communities are major successes on their own. Being able to chat live with your audience only made the discussion around video games feel that much more real. Gone were the days of faceless voices and talking heads bringing gaming news to you. The community was an active part in the creation of the content now. Of course, when streamers like Ninja get people like Drake on board, it immediately legitimizes something that for the longest time was seen as a child's toy. Ironically enough, the company that found the most success with that model, Nintendo, seems to have the strictest policies on things like streaming and content sharing, and even they see the benefits of streaming their content. Esports owes much of its success to streaming with things like stream tournaments and online events. I mean, when League of Legends tournaments start looking like the World Cup with millions more people watching at home, let's just say this is the best timeline to live in if you like video games. You guys remember when Grand Theft Auto was the worst thing to happen to the fabric of society? It's funny how far we've come. It's funny how we can look back and see just how different things were before streaming became the norm. There's definitely a lot to improve, especially when it comes to safety concerns. Also, being a woman on the internet isn't exactly the easiest endeavor, but as always, there's progress to be made. And it's important that we continue to support the communities and content creators that make gaming so amazingly unique. What do you think? Who are some of your favorite streamers out there? Do you even care for things like Twitch at all? Would you watch me if I live streamed? I would. I think I'm kind of cute. If you like what we do, you can always support us on Patreon. We have like a sweater and some other cool stuff, as well as some potential live streams from the boy himself. As always, we love hearing from you, so don't forget to drop a comment down below, hit us up on our subreddit, and as always, don't forget to like, comment, favorite, and subscribe. I'm your boy Mike Dangerous, and this is Talking Shots.